Well, let's get some analysis then on this story. Richard Johnson joins me live on the line. He's a lecturer in American politics at Queen Mary University in London. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
This has been described today as a landmark moment in US politics. The decision, though, only applies to one state, that being Colorado. So how significant do you think this is?
It's rather significant, and this is a long-standing debate among legal academics about interpreting the 14th Amendment. Basically, the 14th Amendment says that if you've been engaged in an insurrection or given aid or comfort to the enemies of the United States, then you're not eligible to stand for a whole set of different offices. The 14th Amendment, however, is not clear as to how it is determined whether someone has engaged in insurrection. And some legal academics have said that effectively the 14th Amendment is a self-enforcing amendment. In other words, that any legal officer in the United States who swears to protect the Constitution needs to make that judgment themselves. And I guess that is what we've seen here in Colorado, is that state officials in Colorado who have to also follow the federal constitution, the U.S. Constitution, have made that determination. So actually, there is some ambiguity in the Constitution over this, and ultimately, this is exactly the kind of thing that the Supreme Court will have to clarify. If they side with the Colorado decision, that will have enormous consequences for the presidential election and will completely change the dynamics of the race. If they rule against Colorado, then the race will carry on as we expect it to.
How quickly do you think this will get to the US Supreme Court then?
I think this is the kind of case that they'll have to hear fairly quickly because of the nature of what they're dealing with here about qualifying to be on the ballot, and this is something that the court can't put off for a long period of time, and I think that they should act pretty swiftly on that, and that certainly will be the pressure from Trump's lawyers on that will be very strong.
Do you think this could influence other states like Michigan, for example, where there have been similar cases in the past against Trump, to push similar amendments to disqualify him there as well?
Well, other states have looked at this and they've basically had a different interpretation of the 14th Amendment. An alternative reading of this is to say that basically Trump needs to be found guilty of committing an insurrection first, and then once he's found guilty of that, then he would fall under this disqualification of the 14th Amendment. Now, the 14th Amendment doesn't say explicitly that you have to have been found guilty of insurrection, it just says you have to have engaged in it. But that's what some of these other state courts, like Michigan and Florida, for example, have taken that view. And to be honest, that is the more conventional understanding of the 14th Amendment. Otherwise, it becomes somewhat unworkable. And I would expect that the US Supreme Court will probably take that view, that basically, in order to be deemed to have engaged in insurrection, you need to have been found guilty of some crime, which of course is what is one of the cases that Trump is facing next summer as well in one of the federal prosecutions. So that could reopen this matter halfway through next year.
It sounds like what you're saying, so much of what happens now hinges on the US Supreme Court. And it is worth emphasizing, for many on the left of American politics, the Supreme Court has become an extremely politicized body, partly because of the appointments made by Donald Trump.
Yes, so Trump appointed 3 of the members of the court, and Republican presidents appointed in total 6 of the 9 members of the Supreme Court. And although the justices themselves would deny that they're partisan actors, there's a clear ideological divide on the court. What will be interesting in this case, I think, will this decision be a divided decision on partisan lines? Will we see the 6 Republican appointed justices vote to keep Trump on the ballot, and the 3 Democratic appointed justices support Colorado's decision to take him off? The Colorado decision itself was a divided decision, a 4-3 decision in Colorado. Or will we see greater unanimity on the court? Sometimes on these matters, if the justices know that this is a highly contentious issue and it's important to have it resolved, then you might see some of the Democratic justices go with the Republicans if they think that's important for the system. But that would be one of the things I would be keeping my eye on. My expectation is that this Colorado decision will be overturned by the court, but I think politically speaking, it'll be interesting to see what the Democratic appointed justices on the court decide to do.
Richard Johnston, it's good to talk to you, sir. Thanks very much.
Thank you.